Hey, all, Andy here. Happy Thursday. Helping you build a career you love. Got a fun one today. We'll talk a little economics, some influencers, some things I want you to do to make sure you are proving your value to your employer and any future employers. So we kind of got two parts today because it's been a while since I actually talked with you about trends in the employment market, stock market, influencers that affect your job. And I thought it would be nice to kind of revisit that now. We're kicking off the fall and fourth quarter 2023. I do think a lot of these four influencers are going to change the landscape of the markets in 2024. And I also want to make sure that I give you those 3 tips that I promised about how to think about the future value that you can create for your current employer, or it's a way to think about how you would influence a new employer. So get in, get comfortable. I always like to say a quick hello before we dive in. Well, there's me up at the top. That's really Kara pinning up a free skill building workbook. It's got my entire leadership assessment, skill building roadmap, the inventory of skills I think you need to build, the sequence in which to build them. Grab that free. Don't wait. There's no waiting in Andyland. Okay, grab that. It's a really great book, and I think it will help you, if you implement the methodology and the tactics, really accelerate your career. So part of that is going to go into today's talk, and part of that is something I'm going to be visiting tomorrow. There will be more on that. Okay, Mimi, Petula, Liz Day, is that Lara, or I don't know if that's an I or an L, but great to have you, Bethisha? Enjoying life? TD? Terry, what's up? Jamie, how you doing, buddy? How's things on the right coast? Pat, Drake, Gary on the left coast. Kristen, Amy, Loretto, Ramon, and Andrea, Kurt, Adam Stark. Well, that's the other side of the pond. Great to have you and everybody else. So I want to talk first about I spend a lot of time each week looking at charts and graphs and trends in the market and how it's going to affect the people I love dearly, and that means you, people in my community, especially the people that are in my premium programs who've reached into their pocket to invest in themselves through my programs, and I want to make sure I'm on top of that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're gonna talk about 4 things that I think are gonna affect the market. Now, before we get into the first one, which has to do with the recent jobs numbers, I have talked at least a half a dozen times, they're somewhere on my YouTube channel, where I've showed you how to look at the graphs and the charts on the Bureau of Labor Statistics site. For the United States, the government tracks statistics, demographics, what's going up, what's going down, month over month, year over year, decade over decade. And I've shown you, I've demoed some of the reports I look at and the graphs I look at and how I evaluate the trends. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is a trend that has been going on for a while. It is probably not as prominent because the way the news reports numbers and the way the television and the media people report numbers is they don't really show you what's under the iceberg, so to speak. So this recent job numbers, so the job numbers and the trends in the market of how people are working, I want you to be aware of. So the first four things I want to surface today, I want you to be aware of these as you evaluate your current employer and you evaluate any other employers in the market and the positions and the roles that you're taking. The jobs numbers for September, this is October, we're recording this live on October 19th. If you're watching this on a recording, 336,000 jobs created last month. Sounds rosy. Except when you actually look inside the numbers, what I noticed was that there was a 22,000 person full-time employee loss. There was 123,000 part-time tick up, meaning, think about this. You've got somebody who works full-time who then takes another part-time job added. You've got somebody who works 2 part-time jobs, an extra part-time job, a job added, which might have just been filling half their work week. You've got people who have part-time jobs and side hustles. You got people who've got full-time jobs and side hustles, and the side hustles, depending on how they're established, another job kind of thing. And so I want you to notice that there is a huge trend. Primarily, I'm attributing this to the pandemic, but we live in a post-pandemic economy right now, unlike anything we've ever seen. A third of the people have not returned. I looked, right? The third of the people have not returned to office buildings, which what? Enables you to actually hold multiple jobs. I coached 3 people in the last 2 weeks. 2 of them have 2 full-time jobs, and 1 of them has a full-time job and a 20-hour-a-week job. This is what got me thinking, like, I need to start talking more about this at my weekly show. So think about what this is gonna do for you and what this truly means. So I don't really have an action here. I just want to tell you this is something that's becoming more and more common. So you're looking over here and you're looking at some top line statistics that that the news media and the papers and the e-zines and the government are feeding you, but you got to really look into what's actually transpiring, okay? And there's a huge trend, and decade over decade, so for years and years and years, we know, because this number's, it's been constant forever, that 5% of people actually have multiple jobs, except I think of late, like in the last year or so, that number's a lot higher. And it depends on how you survey it, but basically, this is a trend in the market that people are holding multiple jobs. Next thing I think is, well, this one's a little scary. This one's the one that actually scares me. I think there is something out there right now where the intentions are good, but the outcomes I think are going to be questionable. And I'm not an economist, and I don't predict these trends. And if I knew what was going to happen, I wouldn't be doing this. But I think there's some good intentions out there that might cause some bad side effects. There's $2 trillion minimum that is being created that's in play. So what's happened in the last year is there's been a couple of acts that has been created. One is the Chips and Science Act, where we are making a big push in the United States to create capital to infuse into our largest corporations so that they can manufacture things that we manufacture or want to manufacture overseas, so outside the U.S. And I'm going to talk about the relationship of the global economy because nothing is country-based anymore. Everything is global now, which I'll get to in a minute. But essentially, we're going to be creating $1 trillion, or $1 trillion has been approved. There you go. There's money creation. Here it is for you, and it's only going to the largest companies. So the small business guy like me and most of you statistically work for small businesses, you're not going to see a dime of that. But there's going to be some weird effects that occur. And the other one I want to mention is the Inflationary Reduction Act, another $1 trillion. I don't know what it is with the trillions, but another $1 trillion is created. And the more important thing about these acts is the thing I worry about is, number one, there is a huge amount of money that, by the way, has not entered the market yet. So we've been fighting inflation, and any of you that have taken one business course know that if the supply of money that's created outpaces the economic output that's created, you have inflation. So we have our Fed trying to raise interest rates to slow inflation down, and now we've got our government infusing money into the market that is going to have the adverse effect. And so $2 trillion is a lot of money. None of it's been spent. And here's the real kicker. So I started looking at who this money was going to. And by the way, you could look any of this stuff up online and educate yourself on it, become familiar with what this is. But when I look at where this money's going, and I mentioned none of it's going to the small businesses. Now, small businesses account for 60% of the workforce, generally speaking, somewhere between 60 and 70% of the bodies. So 99% of the companies in the world are small businesses. Okay, there just is a lot, just the number of companies. The number of workers, somewhere between 60 to 70%, work for a small to medium-sized business, and depending on the year, 44 to 45 to 50% of the economic output is from small businesses. So most people work for small businesses. Half of the economic output is from small businesses. None of the small businesses are getting any of this money. And the real kicker is that while we've created this money, the U.S. government has created this money that's going to be distributed to the largest organizations who manufacture the kind of things that they're looking to support domestic production of are the ones that already have offshore bases that manufacture things outside the U.S. So a lot of that money is going to flow right outside the U.S. So our money supply is going up, which is going to likely increase the inflation, but the money itself is going to be allocated outside of the United States. Which is leading me to my third point. Now, if you're interviewing with large organizations that manufacture chips, semiconductors, things of that relation, look to see what's covered under the Act, the Chip and Sciences Act. But think about and evaluate how are they going to be allocating this infusion of money, where are they allocating their profits or their reinvested profits into the organization, and make sure if you're entering these organizations that you understand that you are in something strategic for them, and that funding wise you'll have it the resources allocated so that your job is safe. And if you want to make arguments about your value, you want to make sure that you're making them appropriately. So keep that in mind. And then the third thing, corporate taxes. Okay, so this to me could possibly be the single biggest reason why the market has not completely cratered, because the Trump tax cuts that were created a few years back that dropped the corporate taxes from 35% to 21% have not been repealed yet, as much as some people in government want to repeal them. When you are in the state of the world that we are right now, meaning the global economy itself, the United States does not just compete with the G7 countries, the large countries like UK, Germany, France, Italy, Canada. We are part of the G20 as far as competing for space of where to open up plants. And corporate taxes drives where new growth is going to go. Now, there's a lot of advantages to being in the United States. So at a 21% hit rate, that's not too bad. And we're kind of in the middle of the pack as far as corporate taxes are concerned at that level. But if you hit the 30-35 mark, you're now in the top quartile. It makes no sense. If I'm a manufacturer, if I'm building something, if I have a services company or whatever, I could go to the Middle East. I could go to Abu Dhabi for 3.5% tax on my resources, on my profits, and that makes a lot more sense to me. I could go to Ireland. I can go anywhere. And we know that if a third of the people aren't returning to the office, that doesn't mean I don't need somebody in my skyscraper in downtown Chicago or New York or LA to do the work that I need them to do. So I watch this tremendously. And this, from a small business owner, in the way Milewalk and Milewalk Academy are set up, this isn't going to affect me. I have pass-through entities that go directly to me. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the corporation from how it moves the employment market. So are you in the type of organization that a large C corporation that it can be affected by this? I mean, the G20, there's 80% of the world's population. Or it's all the inhabited continents. So I could go anywhere and do anything. And I coach a lot of people outside of the U.S. 60% of my community is outside the U.S. So I see this a lot. And I also see a lot of people being hired into international companies that do a lot of overseas travel because of this very reason. And they were either moved before those taxes were cut to begin with, but if they get repealed, that's going to have a catastrophic effect on the U.S. economy, I think. Okay, so that was that one. And then the last one that I think is going to be affecting is the commercial real estate. I said a third of the people haven't gone back to the offices. That's true. There's a lot of strain in the commercial real estate market because of the pandemic. But it's not just the real estate companies, the leasing companies and those types of entities. It's also the banks that finance that stuff, where you've got businesses walking away from leases, defaulting on stuff. this is really going to put a strain on the banking industry as well. So it's not just the commercial real estate industry. So I want you to make sure that as you are interviewing, or that if you are moving or mobile inside your company, you're becoming more and more aware of these issues. We live in a global economy now. So you need to start thinking more holistically about the trends in the market and how it's going to affect you individually. Okay, who's tracking with me there? So just to kind of recap the first portion here, I want you to be thinking about the trend in the working environments. Okay, as you watch those job numbers each month, just because jobs are being added, what kind of jobs? Actually, a ton of those jobs were in hospitality. So that's one thing. Watch how money is being infused into the market, where it's going, how it's being allocated and actually reallocated. Okay, so that's that. There is lower, we want low taxes, okay? And we also want to make sure that commercial real estate and banking, and I think somebody was asking me about AI. Oh, so let's add that into the equation. What I see happening with AI is we're able to in my business. So let me speak to that as an example. In my business, I don't use AI to create my most valuable product, which is my instruction. Okay, meaning I have a leadership coaching session tomorrow. I would not let AI create 5 points for me. That comes from me, my teaching, my experience, and so on. When I write, I just wrote a book. Actually, it was not one word of AI put into that book or any of my blog posts or emails or anything, because to me, that is my primary bread and butter service, and I do not want to be commoditized, and I want you buying me. Okay, then we have other elements of our business that, while strategic, like videos and the marketing and the content marketing, I replaced, to give you an example, 2 people that cost $100 and some odd $1,000 a year total and change. And we now use one system that Kara manages, that for $300 a year, that basically she loads it up, hits the button. I know she does more than this, but to oversimplify, and then evaluates, picks and chooses, and that's that. Okay, so $100,000, $300 kind of thing. So what you think about that? I was able to create profit by using a tool that could handle what I used to have humans doing, like somebody had to watch my video, somebody had to think about what was going on with the video, somebody then chopped it up, made notes, told the videographer what to do, and now I have a better product because I have captions and other things that I added in that I don't have to pay anybody to do, right? This is going to affect a lot of different jobs. No, it's not going to affect the hostess. It's not going to affect the chef. It's not going to affect the whatever. But there are other types of resources that are now going to be either eliminated or streamlined. Now, I would like to think that most organizations wouldn't just eliminate positions, but they might reallocate resources. So you've got to watch to see if your specific job is going to be affected by this. But that's a great point, Brad Young. Thank you for bringing that one up. All right, wait, I want to know, are you loving this? I need to take a sip of this delicious tea. Are you loving this? If so, can you click the like button on the YouTube channel? Please share this with people. People need help. And make sure you subscribe to the station, because I'm going into how to make sure that you're seen as valuable. Okay. Now, today is October 19th, 2023. Tomorrow is October 20th. October 20th, I have a leadership coaching session. That's premium members of my leadership coaching program, where I'm going to be talking about how to create your personalized employee value proposition. So it's not the corporate to its employees, here's the value of working at my company. It is you as an individual. You have a resume. It shows your accolades. It shows your accomplishments and all your certs and all that other stuff. And that's great. But how do you actually convince somebody of what you're worth based on what you've done and what you will do? And there are 5 key areas, and I'm going to give them to you here like the speed rack. But if you're interested in more on this, I'm going to be holding a full-blown session tomorrow on how to do all this, like literally each step. So let's put the card right side up. So to be valuable, and I'm talking about to my current employer, I work here. I work at Mile Walk Academy. So Kara could put one of these together for me, and she could come to me and say, Andy, here's my employee value proposition to you. Here's what I've done in the past and what it's done for us. And that could be projects she's worked on, benefits she's achieved, and so on. All the details, but not just what's happened in the past. But if you create a system that continues to pay dividends, then that's also future benefits, but I'm still lumping that under the past because it's the gift that keeps on giving. Then there's the future element. I'm going to give you 3 tips related to the future here in this talk, just to give you a taste of the kind of stuff I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, but it's very valuable for you as far as how to make an argument with your current employer or what you're worth. So we're going to go into that in a minute. Cost. What would it cost to replace you? There's like 8 or 9 elements that you need to evaluate that would cost your employer if you left. Part of your value is easily seen when you are not present. Okay, so if I left, what happens? So now you have to remember, I'm an employee at your organization. I earn $100,000, but if you had to hire somebody off the street, you'd have to pay $120 because the market has shifted and my compensation probably hasn't gone up in proration to what the market is calling for. But also, person's going to take time to get up to speed. Person doesn't have the political capital. There's a whole host of things. You got to recruit for the person. You got to pay a retainer, a recruitment fee, or so on. There's a whole bunch of things that go into this. And so what would it cost to replace you? You need to always know at any moment in time what the market is demanding for you. Okay? Most people don't. And the longer you've been with a company, the worse this gets. Meaning probably the bigger the gap of how much more they'll have to pay to replace you. Trust. Have you earned a brand internally and externally? It's cachet. Are you a speaker that goes and gets butts in the seats or gets people to come to your event? Are you just people that can get things done internally? Because trust is not transferable. So there's a bunch of elements here. And then the last one is influence. Are you the high tide that lifts all boats? What happens to your teammates, to your staff? What happens to your boss if you leave, right? What influence do you have? Do you make everybody better? Okay, you need to know all these things. There's a whole bunch there's like 15, 18 things that go into 1. There's a whole bunch that go into number 2. There's 8 or 9 that go into number 3. Anyway, there's a lot of this stuff. These are the main ingredients, but I want to talk to you, get you thinking about the future. You are any employee at any company that wants to make sure, maybe you're walking into a performance review. Maybe you are up for a pay raise, a promotion, or whatever. Now, a lot of the past stuff that we're not going to go into, it has a way of getting forgotten. It has a way of people having a lack of perspective. Okay, I didn't realize that how impactful what you did is. Why? Because they're focused on your boss is focused on their job. And you've got stuff that you're building, but I'm not tracking it to the degree you should be tracking it. And I do stress the word should, because most people don't. Okay, but now when you get into thinking about, okay, Andy, it's October. We're going to have a review in November. You're going to give me a big pay raise in January. Okay, what goes into that? Like what goes into 2024, right? The first thing is your current trajectory. Some of you will have no change. The holidays will come and go, and that's all that matters, and you'll have some time off, and you'll come back to the same job. Except if you come back to the same job 3 months later, you better be 3 months damn better. Okay, so what is happening? Here's me today, and in January 1st or March 1st or whatever it is, I'm doing the same things. All right, I'm working on the same project, I'm handling the same accounts, I'm managing the same people, and I'm doing whatever I was doing December 31st and January 1st. Okay, well, can you make an argument that whatever you're doing, you're better at? I'm getting more out of my people. I'm getting bigger accounts. I'm faster at cranking out the widgets. So am I creating space? Do you know that I have a an event coming up. It's a 5-day event. It's going to be November 6th. And I'll tell you about that in a little while. I built the event. Well, it's the 6th or 7th year running, but I built this event last year. And now all the infrastructure's built. But what I'm spending a lot of my time on is actually what comes after the event. Now, that makes it a lot faster, right? Because I don't have to do all the stuff I did last year, which was a lot of hours, right? So I'm faster, even though it's the same event, same responsibilities, same type of program, same education, okay? But I'm faster. So now what? What's going to improve? Even though I'm still Andy, career coach guy, right? Okay, so that's current trajectory. Make sure you got that down. Your current trajectory, you should have improvements if you're doing something longer, right? You should be better at it. If you're not better at it, that's really bad. Hello, you're fired. Okay, number 2, do you have additional responsibilities that create new benefits? Okay, that little Kara example I was using, and I said, you know, we like 2 people that used to cost me $100 and some odd thousand. Now Kara does it. Okay, Kara's still Kara. She's still got a whole bunch of the same responsibilities. She still answers your emails in support@milewalk.com in case you ever have any questions. But she took on this additional set of responsibilities. You could call it a new project, or you could just say she added responsibilities, or whatever it might be. Let's not split hairs. Just look for, did I pick up something additional that, even though I'm still a project manager too, I picked up another, set of staff, or I picked up the QA team as well, or whatever, right? Are you doing anything else? Are you picking up new accounts? Are you picking up a new region? I'm still an account executive. I was the account executive in the Central region. I'm now the account executive of the Central region and the left coast. Okay, kind of thing. Those are still additional responsibilities, or a larger terrain, or like in Kara's case, that was a whole new thing she picked up, kind of thing. Okay, so what are the new benefits that are going to be created? And then the third thing that I want to say is, are there new projects? So new projects could be, I got a promotion, I got things I'm now doing. Those are all new, okay? But I'm talking in the harder to figure out, for the situations, for those where it's a little harder to figure out. So are you a senior project manager? You're an IT project manager. You just implemented a customer relationship management system that is really nice. It's just a better technology. It's a little easier for the CSRs, the customer service reps, to do their job, load the stuff, or whatever. This year, are you creating a new Salesforce automation system? Is it going to have more impact? Are you going to be able to, are the benefits out of the new project bigger? If the benefits are bigger, the pay should be bigger. If the benefits are bigger, the profile is probably bigger, the brand is probably bigger, what you had to sell was probably bigger, the headaches are probably going to be bigger. So just think about, maybe you do the same thing, but are the projects you're taking on bigger? If you are taking on projects that are smaller, you're in a pickle. If you are doing the same responsibilities and expect me to give you a pay raise, that's a problem. But if you're picking up bigger projects that are making more of an impact, and you can relate the impact and the benefits to what it is that you're doing, this is a third way to also show your future value based on what you're going to do. Now, if you might be saying, well, Andy, okay, this is great, but I'm unemployed right now. Okay, well, the same thing works, right? What are the benefits that you're going to be creating for the project you're taking on? Does somebody not, when you are in an interview, if you are not getting, whether you're transferring internally, getting a promotion, or interviewing with a new company, if you are not asking them, what is your current state right now? Give me some stats. How many phone calls are you able to answer in a day? What does that look like? What are you expecting in the new system? I can get you a system that doubles your call rate, right? Your sales are going to go up. If you're doubling the call rate, that means the call rates are going down. That means customers are happier because the call rate's going down. What else does it do? It gives you more opportunity to sell. All of these things are future benefits that are created. Okay, so let me just recap this, and so we can wind down this portion of the show today. Future value, current trajectory. I've got the same responsibilities, but I'm better. I'm creating space in my job to do other things, or I'm doing them faster. I'm cranking more widgets out faster, cranking out double the widgets I used to, right? I could do a video talk in minutes, not an hour, right? Kind of thing. That creates 58 more minutes for me to spend doing something else, trying to market something else. Okay, that's number one. Number two, additional responsibilities. You might not be promoted. You might not change your title. Doesn't matter. Maybe it is. Maybe you're not. What are the additional things you're picking up? And third thing is, even if you don't pick up new responsibilities, what are the new projects that you're creating? And what's the impact the new projects are going to have? If the impact the new project's going to have is greater than the ones you were doing, more value. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I was really pushing to get that done in 30, which I did. Give me a like for getting it done in 30. If you're here with me live, we're going to the chat. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.